So yeah, we're back. It has been a little while since matter of fact, we watched the movie that we're going to be reviewing. We watched that a while ago, and
it's
then
been several weeks.
Yeah, we got sick.
Oh my gosh, that was terrible.
Oh my God, yeah, we got so very sick, and we've had some family drama, and
then like the rest of the family got sick.
So it's just been like one thing after another. So first of all, feeling like we wanted to go anywhere to drive to review was like, and then just having the will to do it was kind of...
Yeah, I'm still having brain fog. So...
Yeah, so we're sorry if this review might be a little...
Helter-skelter?
Yeah, because it has been a little while. So, but we are back. We're healthy. Things are okay. We're doing good.
And speaking of things being healthy and okay, or the amount of time that we have spent on the couch, we wanted to do a little check-in of things we are watching and things that we recommend you watch and things that we recommend you skip.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So it's just, so this is, again, not really planned, so we're just going to throw some names out. You've been watching, I know, while we were sick, you started watching Elementary.
Yes. Okay, so Elementary was on, I believe, 2011 to like 2016, something like that.
Yeah.
Lucy Liu and Johnny
English guy.
Johnny English guy, who used to be married to Angelina Jolie. Johnny Lee Miller, I think?
I think that's it.
Johnny Lee Miller playing the title character of Sherlock, and Lucy Liu as Watson, but in this iteration, this is post-rehab. So Sherlock pretty famously has like drug addiction,
yeah,
right? And this is him having hit rock bottom, coming out of rehab, and Joan, when we first meet her, is serving as his sober companion. She is a surgeon who left the field after losing a patient, and so as he is going on these cases consulting, she gets caught up in the cases. And Aidan Quinn is the chief of police that he works with, which is fun. So yeah, we've gotten well into the second season, I think.
I think so. It's
hard to tell.
It's hard to tell because it is was it CBS? Is that what it is?
I think so.
It is a, network television crime show, so the episodes tend to kind of blend together, and you kind of
right.
Because a couple times, and again, we were watching this while we were laid up with food poisoning or a stomach virus or whatever.
When it was really bad, we just put on Law and Order and let it play.
And I remember dozing off during an episode, waking up and thinking it was the same episode, and it's like 2 episodes down the road.
Yeah.
But I remember this one. I didn't watch this when it was on.
Baby cows. Baby cows.
But I remember seeing the advertisements, and I know it had a fairly decent run. It was on for, I think, at least 6 seasons, if not more. But I remember that I don't think it really got a lot of attention mainstream because it was around the same time that the Benedict Cumberbatch Sherlock was going on. So you had 2 modern day retellings of Sherlock Holmes. It was kind of the Deep Impact Armageddon thing.
I think there was also a Robert Downey Jr. movie that
the 2. Actually, I think the Robert Downey Jr. movies were a little earlier than that. Maybe. Okay. I don't know but yeah, there was a lot of Sherlock Holmes
attention.
Yeah, at that point. But honestly, I think, just from what I've seen, I think Elementary, I actually prefer it to the Benedict Cumberbatch Sherlock.
I do, because it's more of a serialized procedural, as opposed to the Sherlock. They were British, so it's like each one is its own little movie. character of Watson does a better job of not letting him wallow in his depression, and he's a lot quippier and quicker. Plus he's post drug use, like he's still an addict and he's dealing with that, but he's post drug use, and I really kind of get bored of watching a person be high all the time.
Well, that's the thing. I don't believe in the. I'm trying to remember. It's been a while since I watched it. I don't think in the Benedict Cumberbatch one, they never actually came out and said he was on anything. They hinted at it heavily, but I don't think it was ever a thing.
Right. So they never actually addressed his addiction issues.
Yeah.
Which is, I prefer that this one does do that.
Well, and I also, the thing is, despite the legend that the BBC one got, like, I can only think of 2 genuinely great episodes of it that were really good, that the mysteries were really interesting, and the rest was very confusing and got too mixed up in its own lore and weirdness, and it's just, I lost interest in it very quickly.
It did kind of go off the rails.
It did. It jumped the shark very quickly.
Whereas this one, because of it does have some of the elements, like you've got the Moriarty, you've got the Irene Adler, but that's not the focus.
Yeah. So I think it's decent, like it's enjoyable enough. I feel like it doesn't really have a lot, like, I think the reason people kind of lean towards the BBC one is it also doesn't have any kind of real pop to it. You know, like I say, it's your standard network TV procedural.
Yes, it's a great little crime procedural. It's
yeah,
exactly what it is. It tends more towards the, okay, so because I watch a lot of crime procedurals, that's kind of my wheelhouse, and I think about them in terms of, you've got like the Law and Order Dick Wolf universe, which tends to be very serious and dramatic with occasional quips, but it's pretty heavy all the time. And then you have like the Bones, NCIS kind of oeuvre, where it's a lot more, they do have heavy episodes, but
there are a lot. Those ones always remind me a little bit more, like, I think because he produces them, like toned down 90s Jerry Bruckheimer films.
Right. Like,
you know?
There's a lot of humor, there's a lot of interactions between your people, and this definitely, Elementary definitely trends more to the NCIS
Yeah.
than the Law and Order for me. So yeah.
So that wasn't bad.
Plus, I love seeing Aidan Quinn in things. You know, I'm a practical magic girly,
Yeah.
so yeah. So yeah, that one was not bad. What else did we try?
Well, we talked about this one a while ago, but we watched the Nickelodeon documentary.
Oh gosh, yes.
Quiet on Set, which everybody has watched and
Been horrified by.
You know, so yeah, we watched that.
Still waiting on a few people to make comments about why they decided to back a child rapist.
Yeah, known pedophile. Yeah.
So, another one that we kind of watched all the way through, got caught up on, was Alert Missing Persons Unit.
Yeah, that was yeah.
So that's got Scott Kahn as our main character, and we kind of binged the first season. I think it's in its second season.
Yeah. So yeah, we're kind of seeing those as they come out and are available.
I'm a little back and forth on that one, because I think some episodes are really good, and then some episodes are kind of meh, and the second season is kind of missing. Its overall storyline in the first one was this kid came back by Gil Bellows of Ally McBeal.
And quite frankly, I got to agree with you on this. I felt that the first season they at least kept things moving, and the mystery of if this was their son and if this wasn't their son,
right?
You know, at least that kind of kept you coming back. This time it's like, I don't care if this guy is corrupt.
Yeah.
I don't know who this person is. I don't know why Khan has some kind of problem with him. It's like, what? Why do we care?
Yeah, that one's a little rough. So, I'd say first season was definitely a watcher, but
it's okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I would put my seal of approval on this one.
Yeah, I think it's one of those ones, like you said. I guess the best way I compare it is like back in the day when I would go to Barnes and Noble or whatever and go to the DVD section and just find a TV show I'd never heard of and go, oh, what's this?
Right.
You know, it's kind of one of those, and maybe you'll enjoy it, but I don't think it's one that you need to seek out.
So something I watched but I didn't force you to watch was American Horror Story Delicate. Because I love the story of Rosemary's Baby. I read the book, I watched the movie. But I don't know if I just cannot get into Emma Roberts as an actress.
It is kind of hard.
So, yeah. I made it through to the first section because I split it up into two different sections. And it's sad because Kim Kardashian was the most interesting thing about this.
That's always sad.
Yeah. So, yeah. I don't know. I didn't watch the second half. Maybe it gets better in the second half, but yeah. The first few seasons of American Horror Story were really interesting. And then the last few that I've seen, it's like they lose their way. And they're trying so hard to get in these guest stars and pat themselves on the back that the story's just not interesting.
I think it becomes very hard for a show like that when your first couple seasons everybody just universally agrees were the best thing ever, right, and they were so this and they were so that. It becomes very hard to kind of keep that up.
Yeah,
you know,
true.
And if it's a continual story like a regular serialized show, you know, you run the risk that the fans aren't gonna I keep thinking of Lost.
Oh gosh.
You know, like the first season, I'd say 2 seasons, people were just so into it. Everything was a water cooler discussion, and did you see the last episode and blah blah blah. But as it went on, it just couldn't maintain that level of excitement.
The problem is that there are some shows that should be 1 or 2 seasons and that's it.
Yeah, true.
And when they're forced to go longer, they just flounder. Also, we were having a discussion about J.J. Abrams.
Yeah.
And J.J. Abrams did Felicity, Alias, Lost, Fringe, and all of those shows ended up doing something with time travel.
Yeah.
Like, JJ, what's up, man? Do you need to talk to your therapist?
If Alcatraz had run longer, that probably would have happened.
Yeah.
Which, I liked Alcatraz. I liked the first. It's one of those shows I'm mad that got canceled, but
did that have to do with time travel to begin with?
They didn't know. Yeah, kind of, but yeah. I'm just gonna say yes as a blanket. Okay. What do you think? Our oldest, you said, put this one on this past week. Put on The Middle.
Yes. So we split custody, and when my daughters are at my house, we tend to binge sitcoms. And we just finished Parks and Rec
For the 400th time.
So we decided to do a new one, and we put on The Middle. On one hand, I appreciate having a show about a lower middle class family that is struggling, that's not living in big giant houses, that has issues with paying their bills.
Not set in New York or LA or Chicago.
Nope.
That's always a big one for me.
And I just have issues sometimes with the way they interact with each other. Like, their kids are always fighting, and their parents, like, the dad is really withholding about his affection. And, like, sometimes they treat the mom pretty badly.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, I kind of have a love-hate thing going on with the middle. How about you?
I have kind of a 50-50 thing, too. I think some of it's funny.
Yeah.
And I think that's mainly because you have some really talented people.
There was, what's her name from Everybody Loves Raymond?
And the scary janitor from Scrubs. But you have really funny people.
The girl who plays Suhek, Eden Sher, I love her.
She's great. I really like Suhek. Suhek is a great character. So yeah, in that instance, I do think there's some funny stuff. I like some of the things they do, and some of the like you said, it's a lower middle class family, you know, struggling with everyday things like how you're going to pay your bills, you know, losing your job, starting over at, you know, almost 50.
Yeah.
You know, so it covers some interesting ground, but it runs into the same problem, kind of like you were saying. Now, again, this is where we are very different in our comedy tastes. I like things like Family Guy and American Dad, and to a certain season, I enjoyed The Simpsons.
Okay.
But these shows only work because they're animated.
Right.
Because you can go, okay, these are horrible people and they treat each other terribly, but it's a cartoon. You know? You kind of expect bigger than life reactions and behaviors from cartoon characters. When you see those same kind of interactions with real people, you kind of realize, wow, that's borderline abusive.
Okay, so what do you mean?
Well, like you said, the lack of
affection,
the lack of cooperation, or the fact that they forgot Sue's birthday twice.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say, Axel, the oldest son, has made my list of characters I want to kick in the dick.
Yeah.
I fucking hate that kid. Fucking hate him.
Yeah,
now,
he doesn't have a whole lot of redemption arcs.
He has no redemption arcs.
Yeah.
He is not a redeemable character. At least not yet. We're in the third or fourth season. It was on for 9.
His football jersey to Sue.
So that's like one nice thing he did that doesn't...
Yeah.
That doesn't take... You know it's bad when fucking young Sheldon shows more affection for his family than you. That's bad.
Yeah, he's
Now maybe, like I say, we're only in it ran for a long time. I didn't know it was on
than
that.
I thought.
Yeah, so
we're only in season 3.
So
4.
maybe he will have a redemption arc somewhere along the line. I don't know. But just in the episodes I've seen, it's like, I really hate you. Every time you open your damn full mouth, I just want to punch you in the teeth.
Now, on the other hand, like I said, Suhek is amazing.
Suhek is wonderful.
She's so optimistic and such a trier. And
yes.
Just always giving 110%. And you love to see her win stuff.
Yeah.
You know, she tries so hard that her winning is great.
I'm going to say this too, and I know this is probably going to be a very controversial statement. So I understand. So the whole thing is kind of told from the mom's perspective. We get her voiceover, and that's good. And the mom's a decent enough character, but after a while, you kind of get tired of every episode coming back to, I don't get any free time, I don't get to be anybody, I don't get to, because I'm always running my family. Which is not untrue,
Right, but I do think they're kind of going away from that.
Yeah.
Because in this last season, she's going to, like the last one that we watched, she's going to school to be a dental hygienist. She's, you know, like trying to shake things up and do things differently. And since the kids are getting older, she does have a little bit more free time for herself. But yeah, it's
like I feel bad saying that 'cause that's not an untrue statement, especially from the mothers who usually do end up doing the most and sacrificing the most of themselves for their family. But when every single episode is basically, you start going, why'd you get married and have kids if you hate it so much? You know?
But I do think that there are some, like, and I think the ones that probably made me the maddest are the most true when you have, like, the Mother's Day one.
Yeah.
Where she is, like, talking about how much effort she puts in for Father's Day. And then on Mother's Day, it's completely opposite. But the problem is that at the end of that episode, she just kind of goes along with it and is like, well, you know, at least I have my kids and I love my kids and that's what it's all about. But the people who are doing the dumb stuff, like the dad, don't learn their lesson at all. I'm like, I need to see more of a character arc from Mike, the dad, because he really isn't learning. Like, you have to show some affection and put some effort in to, you know, yes, it's nice that you went out and started your wife's car, but maybe when she's with her group of friends, you also treat her like you actually like her as a person.
Yeah.
I think one of the truest things they did with his character is that they compared him to his son, Brick, who has neurodivergent problems. And it's like, yeah, you might be a tall guy who, you know, plays sports, but you also have these same social issues as your son.
Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of a 50-50 one for me. Like, I don't mind it at the moment, but we'll see. We'll see if they keep watching it.
Well, I need to see what happens to Sue Heck.
And we'll see, like, if some of these characters actually get redeemed.
Yeah, because Axel's about to go off to college. And
that's kind of the big thing.
School, so yeah, we're gonna see.
So I think the last thing we watched was the other night. We watched one of your documentaries.
Crime documentaries. Control Alt Desire.
Which sounds like a Lifetime movie.
So this is on Paramount, and this is 4 parts. Was it 4 episodes? 3 or 4?
3, I think, which I think was 3 too many.
And this is about the Jason Amato case, where he gets super into this cam girl and ends up killing his entire family.
But ironically, here's the thing. I think this is one thing the documentary did a good job of kind of explaining, is that those two things were not, like, it's not like the Underpants Gnomes. There was a lot of shit that happened in between those two things that actually led to the murder. It wasn't like, oh, I'm into this cam girl and now I'll murder my family.
Right.
Which is what kind of the news and everything made it sound like.
Yeah, and like somehow connected it, like he did it for her.
Yeah.
And like, that I will say that is one thing the documentary did do very well, is basically kind of humanize the cam girls and online sex workers, and point out, like, this girl was just doing her job.
Yeah.
Like, she was just doing the thing that makes her money.
And that there were a lot of extenuating circumstances and a lot of outside factors that led to this, you know.
Well, there was a lot of things that, a lot of bad choices he made leading up to it. And then, like, his mom enabled him and all of these things. And so, yeah. But yeah, I think you're right. I think it could have been a 2-hour documentary.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, I did. Like, when it started the 3rd episode, I was like, wait, what could there possibly be to wrap up?
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot. It was just about him losing his appeals. And
It was about him. Well, they ended the 2nd episode, like, on a cliffhanger of what was the verdict.
Right.
You know, which is always kind of weird because you can always just Google these things and find out. But anyway, so they did that, and then, yeah, it was about the appeal, and then it was him actually admitting, yes, I did it. and they actually did track down the cam girl,
right,
that he was obsessed over, because there for a while she
went underground.
Yeah, and nobody could find any evidence of her. So they actually got a statement from her saying that she went into therapy after all of this, and
it blew up her life.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
So, and she wanted nothing to do with any of them, you know.
No.
So
yeah,
you know, so that was pretty much all, and I feel like that's kind of the problem with a lot of these.
They don't need to be anything serious.
Yeah, like you need to sum up what you need to sum up in an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Yeah.
Like, now I will say, I felt like the Quiet on Set one.
Oh, that definitely needed that.
Every minute of that was necessary. Like, every single minute. And when they came back with another episode, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, that was more of a there's more? Holy shit. So that one, yes, but some of these other ones, I feel like they really try to stretch it out a bit.
Right, and I get it. This guy spent years talking to him, following the case, getting all the information. I get you want to get as much out of it as you can, but I think it probably would have been more popular, I guess, if it was just, more succinct.
Do you think, I just had this kind of random thought. Do you think that maybe some of them do that, especially now that, like, true crime podcasts are so popular and people talking about, like, these documentaries on their podcasts? So they figure, like, if I can get, like, 3 episodes, and maybe that means they're going to have to take, like, 2 of theirs to talk about everything?
Maybe.
So see if I can, like, stretch this out a little bit.
I mean, it's entirely possible, but I also think that some people think that what they're saying is more important than it really is.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole story was crazy.
It was.
Like, I think I had heard of it, but it was kind of on the edges of, like, my awareness. But yeah, this guy, total sociopath. So, anyways, I'm not a doctor. Like, that's not an official diagnosis. Okay. Yeah, those are pretty much it. I've been rewatching episodes of Evil, which is I think CBS show about this, like, exorcist, I guess, kind of exorcist, priest, psychologist working together. And it's one of those shows that I can only watch an episode or 2 at a time, because there are parts of it that annoy me, but I also think that the subject matter is interesting, so I'll go back and watch it. So yeah, that one is kind of a hit or miss for me too. So, anything else?
No, that's kind of it. But yeah, so we've kind of been racking up a lot of,
Oh, there was, in the wrestling world, there was a big deal, because there's a huge controversy between wrestlers. Like what is his name that we hate?
CM Punk.
CM Punk getting into a fight with Jack Perry, who is Luke Perry's son, is a wrestler. And there was a big fight they had after a pay-per-view last year, and they both got suspended. CM Punk actually got his contract revoked.
Yeah, he got fired.
And then he went online, or on
podcast.
Slamming AEW, and in like a move that they really don't do, the producers decided to air the backstage footage of what actually happened. And so that was kind of, if you're in the wrestling world, that was
a lot of people. This is kind of the hard thing when talking about wrestling, or like, because people forget it is an episodic show.
Right.
Is like people were like, oh, why are they doing that? Why are they doing that? And it was basically to build up to Jack Perry coming back.
Right, but also kind of clearing the air, like, you can keep saying this all you want, that this wasn't your fault. Here's the video proof that you were the first person to punch.
Yeah.
Like, you attacked him out of nowhere. And so, yeah. If you are into wrestling at all, AEW is doing some really interesting things. So if you haven't watched AEW, I highly recommend them.
Yeah.
I'm not a sports person at all, and I still have been like.
I turned her on to wrestling, baby.
So, but yeah, that's been the sum of our excitement. We haven't even watched movies because our brains haven't really been.
Yeah, we're trying to get back. We're trying, which is why we're back, and we're bringing you this new episode. So, but yeah, you notice we spent a lot of time talking about like the shows we watched where we didn't have to move.
Yes, very much so. And didn't have to stay awake for 2 hours for a whole movie.
So when we come back, we will do our best to review this latest from A. Cohen brother.
Just one.
To see if what we can remember. So,
that'll be a fun game.
It will be. We'll be back in a minute.
Okay, and we are back.
Yes, we are. And as we are driving and reviewing, let us review Drive Away Dolls.
Very good, honey.
No, not really.
So, Drive Away Dolls is a comedy thriller. Came out this year, 2024.
Are you just reading it off the Wikipedia page?
Basically, I'm trying to remember anything about it. Okay, so it was directed by Ethan Cohen from a screenplay he co-wrote with his wife, Trisha Cook.
Okay, so before we get into this, you're a much bigger Coen Brothers mark than I am. You actually like a lot of their stuff, or at least some of it, right? Like, so what's your experience with the Coen Brothers work?
Well, put me on the spot here, sir. That's not what I researched. Okay.
It shouldn't be a research. It's like, what's your opinion?
So, the Coen Brothers, they did a lot of stuff, a lot more of the kind of quirky, artsy stuff that I liked. Big Lebowski, Fargo. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou's probably one of my favorites. Although I really did like their remake of True Grit. And No Country for Old Men. Like, they really have kind of run the gamut of different types of movies, but always tending to be along the lines of comedic with a thriller bent, which I gotta say we don't get a whole lot of anymore.
No, not really.
That's a very 80s, 90s type of situation that we don't see a lot of that crossover as much as we did a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, not that long.
Yeah. I like the Coen Brothers. I love Fargo and its television iterations. I actually got you into the last season of it, which you seem to enjoy for the most part.
I thought it was okay. I don't know if I'd say I enjoyed it. I thought it was interesting, but I've always found them, I don't know, they've been a little inaccessible to me. I'm not sure why. I remember when I was in college, that was when Oh Brother, Where Art Thou came out, and oh my God, everybody in that department loved it.
I loved it.
They talked about it all the time. How brilliant it was, how great it was. They played the soundtrack like non-stop, and when it finally was available for rent, I was like, all right, let's see what this is. And I remember watching it going, okay, when does the earth-shattering part happen?
Okay, but I also think that part of you, like part of your inclination is to already be a little bit judgmental of something everyone likes. Like, I think that's just kind of your rebellious nature.
Everyone says that, but it's not like something I set out to do.
No, I just think it's ingrained.
It's not like it's fun being the only person not to like something.
No, well, but I think it is a little bit for you.
No, it's not. Like, everybody says that, but it's like, it is actually not fun to have something be out there that everybody loves, and you're the one person going, what am I not getting? Like, it makes you feel like a freak.
Well,
So it's not that fun, to be honest with you.
I loved Oh Brother Where Art Thou. I loved it, and I rewatched it and listened to the soundtrack. And it's one that I've watched with my sisters over and over again. I don't know. I love John Turturro. I love Holly Hunter. I love bluegrass music. What can I say?
So anyway.
So I went into this being a fan of the Coen Brothers.
Okay.
And you went in being a skeptic of the Coen Brothers.
I just went in kind of going, this looks weird. What is this?
And then he wrote this with his wife, so this was Ethan Coen, not Joel Coen.
Yeah.
So, yes, the one not married to Frances McDormand. We knew that it was about two girls being chased by some bad guys.
Yeah. Over something.
Yeah. So.
And that's kind of what got me interested. Is I like road trip movies, and I like movies and stories where like an ordinary person is like suddenly being chased by the mob or something, and they don't really know why, and it's just
right.
I like stories like that. I think they're fun. So when I kind of saw the trailer, I was like, okay, let's give this a shot. So what we have, real quick, in case you didn't know, so this is the story of two best friends, childhood best friends, it seems.
Right.
Whose names completely escape me.
I don't think they're childhood best friends. No, I think they met when they were older.
But they've been best friends for a while.
Long time.
They've been best friends long enough that they have an established history, and they can call each other out on patterns of behavior.
Right. So Jamie is played by Margaret Qualley, and she's our more typical. So this happened in.
This takes place in the 90s.
Late 90s.
Yeah.
Because they were talking about 1999 parties.
Yes.
So this is Jamie is your typical late 90s lesbian.
Yeah, she's your party girl. She's the, sleep with everything.
That's not typical of a late 90s lesbian. I meant like her look and attitude.
Oh, I just mean the character type.
Yes, and so yes, she is, when we start the movie, she's, cheating on her girlfriend.
In public, at a bar.
Well, before that, she was at home.
Cheating on her, yeah. Well, yeah, that's true.
And then, played by Geraldine Viswanathan, and I am so sorry if I mispronounced that.
Very sorry.
She's Mary, and she is an Indian, I believe Indian. They never clarify.
They never say, yeah, but she's your button down,
yes,
the uptight one.
Yes, the office worker, everything just so in its place.
She goes to the lesbian bar dressed like a stewardess.
Right.
Very covered up and very. And anyway, so these two friends decide for reasons that they just need to get away, so they're going to take a little road trip to Tallahassee, Florida. They're going to rent a car, do a drive away, which means they're basically renting a car for free
to deliver the car.
Right.
Little do they know that the car that's been given to them is
in the middle of some sort of heisty situation.
Yes, bad guys have something in the car that they want that
they stole from Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, who Pedro Pascal, I sometimes get the feeling that Pedro Pascal, while filming a movie, just goes for a walk and to visit all the other movies being filmed, and they go, "Hey, would you like a bit part in this film?" He's like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
Because it just seems like he does that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, he's in it all of like 3.5 minutes.
Yeah.
So.
But you get to say Pedro Pascal in the.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they're independent of this. There's a heist that goes on. Pedro Pascal has something in a briefcase.
Right.
And I don't know if we can actually say what it is. Not so much for spoilers, but just
adult material.
Yes.
Something adulty.
Very. That somebody wants very badly. They end up. So anyway, the items in Pedro Pascal's head end up in this car that these girls accidentally rent. Now the mobsters are after them to recover what was in the car, and it's a whole spiel.
Coleman Domingo is like the mobstery guy, and then we've got a couple of his lackeys, which they were pretty entertaining.
Yeah, the two goons were very funny.
Yeah, so they were dealing with their own emotional issues with each other, relationship issues as they go along, even though they're not gay. So one thing about this movie is there is a lot of explicit language and behavior.
Yeah.
Which is like, I mean, there's no shade. Like, I just go into it forewarned that there is a lot of,
it felt very 90s in that.
Right.
You know,
only different from that in that it's between queer people.
Yeah, like the dialogue and the amount of profanity and sexual references and whatnot.
And actual sex scenes.
I felt like I was watching a Kevin Smith movie.
Yeah.
From about the same time, only he didn't do the gratuitous sex scenes, but yeah, that's a very 90s method of storytelling.
Right. And so yeah, there's a lot of, so just be warned going into that, if a lot of sexual activity in your movie is not something you like, you're not going to enjoy this very much.
No.
We did have a discussion because this is based around two queer women characters. But after, like, and it being written by Ethan Coen and his wife, but once I've looked into Trisha Cook, Ethan Coen's wife, she actually identifies as queer and identified as lesbian before she married Ethan Coen. So it is actually written by a queer person.
By a queer identifying person.
Yes.
Okay, because that was one of the things that, while watching it, I think it's good that we have to have these conversations, but I also think sometimes they make it very confusing to go, is it okay if I'm liking this? Is that okay if I find certain...
there can be... there can be a fine line between exploitation and representation.
Yeah.
Now, if it was written by two straight cis guys who just wanted to get as many lesbian sex scenes in as possible, there wasn't actually a whole lot of nudity.
No, not really.
But if it was written by two straight guys that were just trying to see a little lesbian sex, that would have felt more exploitative. Whereas this just felt like being, written by a queer woman, it's like, okay, so maybe this is representative of lesbian life in the 90s.
Yeah. So now that we've answered the question of how offended we are.
No. I do wonder too, though, like, I don't know about the Marion character. I know Margaret Qualley is straight, or at least straight presenting, and married to a man. So I don't know, like, there's a question of if we have so many queer actors now, should we be giving them the queer perks? Or is it still okay to be straight and play gay?
I don't know. I don't know, and I don't know what the right answer is, and
I think it's okay to not know the right answer as long as it's something we're talking about.
I don't know.
Now I know Beanie Feldstein, she plays Jamie's ex-girlfriend. I believe Beanie Feldstein is an out lesbian. So yes, married to a woman.
Okay, so now that we've kind of laid all this groundwork, let's actually talk about. So let's talk about our two leads. So what did you think? What did you think of the characters, the actors, the relationship? What did you think?
So Margaret Qualley's character, sometimes I would be kind of taken out of the movie for a minute because I'm like, that's Andie MacDowell's daughter. This is weird. This is a weird thing for Andie MacDowell's daughter to be doing. You know? Like, so that kind of took me out of it a little bit. I have to say, I did not see the twist coming.
Of what was in the
briefcase?
No, definitely not.
And what the mobsters were doing?
Yeah, definitely not.
I gotta give it up to Matt Damon for his appearance in this. I think Matt Damon also just likes to have fun occasionally, doing weird little things.
Well, I think isn't he like a Coen Brothers like guy? Doesn't he do a lot of their stuff?
Maybe.
So.
The thing is, I should have liked this more. It's a Coen movie. It was weird. It was quirky. It was a lesbian story. I mean, it should have checked all my boxes, but I still went away from it kind of being like, meh. And I don't really have an answer as to why. How about you?
I think there was a lot of weirdness in it. It's a Coen brother movie, so I think weirdness is just kind of par for the course.
That's their meat and potatoes, man.
Yeah, so
although there was very few meat and potatoes in this movie.
Or there was a lot of meat and potatoes, just not that anyway.
Oh, yeah. Well,
anyway, so I'm trying to judge it based on, did I find it more interesting or less? And I think that there were some really good parts of it. I enjoyed our two main characters in terms of their relationship with each other.
Okay.
I think that the two actors play off each other very well, and you do get a sense that these are two very old friends.
I also liked the little bits with her ex.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, her ex was hysterical.
Yeah.
Like, her ex was really, really funny, you know, and I like when they kind of turn things on their heads. I like when a movie takes a familiar moment and kind of changes your expectations. Like when the two goons go to her house, go to the ex's house, trying to get information, and she beats the shit out of the one, and it's like not like a lucky punch. She's like legitimately beating the shit out of him. And the scene is just going on like normal.
Right.
Like that was great. And I think that, again, being told in a very weird way, I think that it was an interesting exploration of these two kind of opposite ends of the the spectrum, you know, and this isn't any sexual orientation, but, you know, the wild,
The
crazy
odd couple.
party person and the uptight, you know, more reserved kind of
Right.
person. And I like that there is kind of an exploration of those two extremes and why those two extremes tend to be drawn towards one another.
What they fulfill for each other.
Yeah, and I think that in its quieter moments, the film really does an interesting job of kind of exploring that and exploring it in some interesting ways. Again, the Coen brother films tend to be very weird, but they're not weird for the sake of weird. A lot of times, the weirdness is a different way of telling the story.
Right.
You know.
Flipping the perspective.
Yeah, exactly. So.
And it is a coming of age movie about two women.
Yeah.
Which is not something we get as often.
And it is a thing where, and I kind of wondered for a little while why they chose to set it when they did. Like, I was like, why setting it in the late 90s, early 2000s? Why, you know, it didn't seem like that added a whole lot to it. But then I kind of thought, like, that was that late 90s, early 2000s was when queer culture was really starting to break through a little bit. Mainstream was starting to be very aware of it.
Well, and I think I think a thriller movie like this, where you've got a thing, and the people are trying to get the thing and not trying to find you, you needed a lack of accessibility.
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't do this now with cell phones and, you know, tracking and all of that. It just wouldn't be the same. So.
But I also feel like the time period was more in place because of what it represented in terms of the evolution of queer culture in mainstream America.
Right. I just hope that that's not a sign that we're going back to having to travel to Boston to get married, because that's the only state that allows it anymore.
No, but I do think it is, like I say, these are two characters they're already at terms with their sexuality.
Right.
But
there's no, like, painful coming out.
Yeah,
story.
it's more of a coming to terms with what that sexuality and what that emotion means in regards to the other person.
Right, and I think it's kind of a step forward to have a movie about two queer people and a love story where you don't have to have the coming out part of it.
Yeah, very little of it was cliche gay.
Right, yeah.
You know, like, again, both these characters were already out. They were comfortable with who they were. You didn't have a lot of you didn't even have any, like, anti-gay sentiment. The bad guys were not after them because they were gay.
Right.
And really, there was you had a little bit of racist overtones at one point where the one girl is arrested
for
just walking down, so you get some racial commentary, but they're not really persecuted or anything because of their orientation at all in the film. So it's told, like, you could see this movie being told with any sexual orientations. Trans people, straight people, like, the basic story is the same. And I think that is a good thing. Like I say, it's a step forward. It's not focusing on the same things. It's
same gay story.
It's focusing on them as people.
Right.
You know,
Miley Cyrus has a cameo in this too.
An uncredited cameo. Yeah.
This was a weird one for people popping up in it.
Yeah. And you mentioned the two goons. I like the two goons as well.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, they're having a weird. Because the one goon is like the tough guy who's trying to intimidate everybody, and the other one's like trying to form relationships with people and talking to them, and that's how he gets information. And
yes. So it is. I mean, and it's a good story. Like, it's still a watchable movie, and I probably watch it again. It just didn't tip over into this is a great movie.
A groundbreaking film.
Even though it kind of is. it's just, yeah.
I kind of agree with that. I liked the movie. When all was said and done, I liked it. But you're right, there's something about it that's not quite connecting. It's not quite firing, and I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to tell you.
You know, maybe it's the too much weirdness.
I don't know.
Like maybe
I like a lot of really weird stuff.
Okay. Maybe there's a disjoint or
what I keep coming back to is Margaret Qualley's accent.
Okay.
You know, it's like she made Texas her whole personality.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
And so, you know, I think that was that kind of, like I said, her character was the one that kept pulling me out of the movie world. So, yeah.
It did feel, I will agree, it did feel like her character was the most archetypal.
I'm feeling a little archetypal-y.
Hers was kind of, you know, and because you've seen either in a queer context or a straight one, we've seen that character
right
a lot. You know, the drunken party one who will just do anything, is up for anything, and doesn't really feel any kind of remorse for it.
Right.
You know, so yeah, it did feel like, yeah, I'm not sure what it is about her character or about her performance, but something didn't quite click.
Right.
So yeah.
I don't know, maybe she was just a little too over the top for me.
Maybe.
So, I don't know.
But again, in a weird movie like this, where's the line for over the top?
I know. I can't explain it.
Well, but I think it's a valid point. I think because everything has a boundary.
Right.
You know, just because you say, okay, this is over the top, that doesn't mean that anything goes. Everything has a ceiling for whatever world you're creating. And so it might be that hers
just needed to pull her back a little bit.
Yeah, maybe blend her a little bit more.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. This was an odd little picture, and not just in terms of the synopsis, but just in terms of everything.
I think for the right person, this is going to be a perfect movie.
Yeah.
I think that it's going to be a not perfect movie for a lot of people. But I think that there's going to be people out there, and we need queer representation in all genres, honestly. So,
you know what I think? And you've already kind of talked about it, how it was written by a queer woman, co-written by a queer woman. But I do still think that, in terms of it also being co-written and directed by a straight man,
right,
that there is something, I don't want to say disingenuous, but there is something that doesn't feel genuine about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that might be what I'm getting from Margaret Qualley's character too. Is that, like, if she is a straight person and playing that queer character, then maybe that is just, yeah.
Yeah. So I wonder if, what would have happened if this same script and the same character had been under the helm of a queer identifying director.
I don't know.
And actually, because it does still feel like there is a divide between the subject matter and the artistic voice telling the story. You know? And I don't think that's the only thing I can really think of, because yeah, even though I liked it and thought it was a fun movie, there is something not not genuine. I don't know how else to put it.
All right, let's wrap it up, honey.
Okay.
How do you grade Drive Away Dolls?
I graded a C+.
Okay.
Again, I enjoyed parts of it, and I think there were parts of it that were really good and funny and entertaining and interesting in the way the story was told, but there is a disconnect for me somewhere along the line that, again, I feel like somewhere along the line, the artist didn't connect with the material.
All right, I'm going to B-.
Really?
Yeah, because like I said, it checked a lot of boxes. And I can't necessarily put my finger on what I would change about it. But it automatically bumps up a letter grade for me for queer representation.
Which it does well.
So
I think that's something we do have to agree that it does do queer representation very well. Now again, I think the last thing we should say is that this is coming from us.
Right.
Now you are
I'm a queer woman in a straight presenting relationship.
Yes.
So.
And I am a straight man. So I think that you could make the argument that our perspectives may not be the one from which to view this material with.
Right.
You know? So I always say, or at least we've started saying this, and I think this is a good thing to clarify, this would be one to kind of get a queer point of view on.
Right.
You know, see how people in that, living that lifestyle, who are...
Living that lifestyle.
I'm sorry.
That's such an old-fashioned way of putting it.
You know what I'm trying to say.
People who are queer, how they feel about it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So that might be something to take with a grain of salt and to go to check out, because you're only getting half of that with us.
Right.
You know. So even though you always say I'm a lesbian.
I mean, kind of. You're the most lesbian-like man I've ever met.
I have been called the gayest straight man, most people know.
Yeah.
I have been called that. Anyway, so there it is. Maybe not the most conclusive discussion, but it's the movie that caused the discussion, which is, I think,
true.
Which is good. So thank you all for coming along with us. Thanks for being patient with us when we're gone. We're going to try to be back more often. Thank you, my love, for being my sickie partner and my reviewing partner and my life partner. And thank you all for listening. Join us next time, and as always, drive safe, and we will see you at the movies.